Hello everyone, we're just here today at the Cooper and John Newton Museum. This is the house that William Cooper used to live in, and I'm going to show you some really interesting stuff about the hymn writing inside. How all these people were crammed on to the boats, and the British slave, were part of one of the major players in the slave trade industry. Most died when they were on the slave ships, and this is how much space an adult male slave might occupy during the 2-month journey by ship between Africa and America. Awful violations of human rights, chained up, and this really seemed to etch on John Newton's conscience, and then of course afterwards it became part of the abolitionist movement with William Wilberforce. But you see the context of what the life he had come from before he became a believer. And this house where William Cooper used to live, it's a very grand old house, and writes his content in Olney, this small town. William Cooper, just the mental illness he suffered. Remember that John Newton and William Cooper knew each other, and he was a very famous poet and hymn writer. He wrote all his thoughts down. He was sent to an asylum for his mental health, where he found Romans 3:25, which confirmed for him, William Cooper, that Christ had atoned for our sins. In a moment, he says, I believed and received the gospel. So he began to express his faith in his poetry, but he still struggled, that he was never cured of this bipolar type thing throughout all his life of struggling with all this mental health. William Cooper, back in the 1700s, he suffered from attacks of severe depression throughout his life and attempted suicide several times. He came to believe that God had abandoned him, and he sought comfort in writing, gardening, religion and nature, but he was never cured. And these are the words that William Cooper wrote. Man disavows and deity disowns me. Hell might afford my miseries a shelter. Therefore hell keeps her ever hungry mouths all bolted against me. Today we are walking through a secret garden out the back of, which you can see just slightly through there. This is where John Newton used to come with his friend who lived here, William Cooper. He was a famous poet and hymn writer and Christian who suffered with a lot of mental health problems and depression and what we would call today bipolar. So he went through a lot, and he felt that God had abandoned him, and he struggled with his mental health. And so I think it's a good one to reflect on people's lives like this in the 1700s, just how much they struggled. He used to come to help with his mental health into the garden environment, and he used to come, have pet hares and different things like this, like the rabbits, the hares. But also in here, which is a very world famous little shed, very small little shed, very dinky thing here. But what happened in here is that William Cooper and John Newton would come into here and they would write hymns, and one of the most famous hymns, which you will know of, called Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. They wrote this in here, just in this small little shed out the back of their garden in England here. So this is what's left of it. You see loads of writing from all over the centuries, over the walls, from the 1700s, the 1800s. And John Newton, of course, had been a slave trader, and he was part of the abolitionist movement in the end with William Wilberforce. But you can see, what's interesting is you can see John Newton's idea of being set free from slavery written into his hymns. And that's what they did. They wrote their hymns here in this little garden shed in the back garden. Amazing, amazing place to see and to remember for all those who do struggle with their mental health. There are Christians in the Bible, there are people in the Bible, there are Christians in the last few centuries and across time who have also struggled in many ways with depression, with bipolar, with mental health complaints, who God has used in a huge way. And this is the evidence to show that these people were also used mightily by God. Thank you for joining me today, and God bless you.